All right, welcome to the January 8th meeting of the Concord Recreation Commission. Call the meeting to order. And we will have our first matter of routine business, approval of our minutes from December 2025. Everybody got a copy of it. I hope everybody had a chance to read it. Were there any questions, comments, or concerns?
Not from me.
I did not have any questions, comments, or concerns either.
I don't hear him.
Anybody have any?
No questions
No.
or concerns. I'm sorry.
Thought people were taking to read it. All right, motion to approve? Second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Bye.
And the minutes are approved. Thank you very much. All right. We are very excited this evening to have our partners from Oars here to tell us about what they're doing, opportunities for us to work together, and things we can do. As you'll recall from our strategic plan, one of the things that stood out from many of us was enhancing opportunities to get access to the rivers in town. And there's opportunities to do that I know Oars have been working on for many, many years. And it's of interest to us as well. So we thought we'd invite you to let us know what you're doing and where you see opportunities.
Can I
So
say
welcome,
one
please.
little introduction too? Thank you, Bill. So we have been working with Oars for a while, as Phil said. When I started 2 years ago, the idea came about for a Blue Highway, and I think it was kind of a vision of a dream from the strategic plan. More boat access, more water access, as Phil was just describing. And so I went and met with Oars a while back. I went and saw their boat put in their accessible kayak launch. I think it's in Malden.
Maynard.
Where is it?
Maynard?
Maynard. And then we also talked about education and recreation. So I want you to know that they're exploring some of that and actually working with us already. So I wanted to give it to Matt so he can introduce us to himself and Callie. He'll kick it off. So Matt.
Great. Are you putting up the presentation there? Because
Yes.
I cannot
Yes.
see it, so I might have to just wing it a little bit.
Give us 1 second, Matt, and we'll
sure.
set it up. Let's just pause.
Sorry, I had a bit of a pickup issue with Ski Club and was not able to get there in person. I just actually got back inside.
It happens with the kiddos and the bus. We understand.
Well, I appreciate it. So thank you. I can see it now. So
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So I'm gonna just go through the kind of big picture stuff about who Oars is and what we do, and then Callie, who I'm assuming you've already met, since she's in the room with you, she's gonna talk more about the specific recreational activities that we have been doing or plan to do in 2026. So we are the watershed organization for the Sudbury, Assabet, and Concord rivers. We were founded in 1986. Originally, we were the organization for the Assabet River, but we expanded our mission to include the Sudbury and Concord rivers later. So could you go to the next slide? So here's a picture of our watershed. It's 36 cities and towns all the way from Lowell to Westboro, which is the source of the Assabet and the Sudbury rivers, and they converge in Concord. Concord's a really special place. We have all three rivers converging at Egg Rock, which is it's a really oh, my kids. Sorry, it's been a wild night. I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's a really popular spot. And actually, if you kind of look at that circle there, where where the two rivers become one, from there up the Sudbury River to like Fairhaven Bay is probably the busiest section of our river system, and most of that's in Concord. So on a nice day in the spring, summer, and fall, you'll pass 50, 60 people in kayaks and canoes, either fishing or paddling for fun there. So Concord's a really special place in terms of recreation here. So our we started because back in '86 the Assabet was a mess. There are four wastewater treatment plants on the Assabet, and at the time there really wasn't any limit other than the standard limits in the state. So we were able to put in place a total mass daily load limit on phosphorus, which cut down on the amount of phosphorus the various plants were able to discharge. Phosphorus is a nutrient that really promotes a lot of aquatic plant growth and algae growth. And what happens is that stuff kind of like fills up and then dies. And as it's decomposing, it pulls all the oxygen, not all, but a lot of the oxygen out of the water, which makes for poor habitat for creatures that live in the water. And also, it smells really bad and it creates this kind of like gross environment to fish in. So since then, we really, because of that limitation on phosphorus, the water quality's improved significantly. We still have a ways to go, but the majority of our watershed is now boatable, fishable, and some sections are even swimmable. So now that we've kind of gotten to this point where we really are because the rivers are in better shape, we're trying to promote more recreational activities on them to kind of develop the next generation of river stewards who can get involved and continue our mission going forward. So that's, is there another slide for Oars basic stuff, or that might be? Oh yeah, so this is kind of our core area of core collection of programs for what we do. So our water quality monitoring program has been going on continuously for over 30 years. It's one of, if not the longest continuous water quality monitoring program in the state. And it started with phosphorus, but we've expanded to chlorophyll, other nutrients, and most recently bacteria. And we're also assessing what other things to monitor for. So Cali was actually part of our first ever macroinvertebrate study where we not only are sampling water, but we're sampling some of the small creatures that live in it to see as another level of monitoring that we do. We also do ecological restoration work. So we have 3 dam removal projects right now, as well as a culvert assessment project and a couple nature-based solutions. And we also are working with the town of Concord and also with the Metropolitan Area Planning Council on a MVP grant to create a climate collaborative for the entire watershed. We also do some education work. We have our WaterWise workshops, which have been going on for over 20 years at this point. They were really small at first. We were partnering with the Boys and Girls Clubs in Hudson, Marlboro, and Framingham. But last year, we significantly expanded that. And again, Concord was part of our pilot program to expand that. We did our first ever after school programs at the Thoreau School, and they were a big hit. And then we expanded that to summer camps throughout the summer. So we went from seeing about 80 kids a year to 600 in 2025. And hopefully we can get that number up to 1,000. And then policy and advocacy work, we have negotiated settlements under the Clean Water Act to enforce those TMDLs on phosphorus. But we also hold a legislative breakfast every year. We do a lot of tabling, a lot of comment letter writing, and testimony giving. So we're pretty busy for a small organization. And then again, just a quick pitch. This year is our 40th birthday, so we're going to be doing a lot of additional activities on top of our usual Wild Scenic Film Festival and other kind of staple events. But I will let Callie take it for the recreation piece.
Great, awesome. You can head to the next slide. So this is just an overview of the projects I'll be sharing about today. We have our River Rats program, our Concord River Race, our 86 Miles Club Challenge, the Oars Three Rivers Adventures program, and we also do water chestnut pulls. So you can head to the next slide. River Rats. This is a new program that we piloted last year in 2025. They are completely free paddles. We offer them all throughout the watershed from May to August. The goal of these was to make river recreation more accessible to everyone because normally you either have to have the money to go on a paddle trip or you have to have the boat and a way to move the boat to the launch site and the car and the rack. So it's a lot of things, right? And we wanted to kind of get rid of all of that and just have people sign up and show up and they'll be met with all of the equipment they need. We had canoes, kayaks, life jackets, paddles, and trained guides. We also have volunteers that help us with this program as well. So getting more of the community involved and helping others access river recreation. And so last summer, we introduced nearly 100 people to river recreation, which was really great. Most had never paddled before. So it was really great. And we're hoping in 2026 to expand and improve those offerings. So if you head to the next slide, we have some fun photos of those paddles happening. On these paddles, you kind of show up at the launch site. We give a brief like safety talk, and then we get in the water, which at first it's like very difficult to get them, acquainted with the boat and how to paddle, especially with a canoe where it's two people working together. But once people have somewhat of a grasp on how to get it down the water, we head on down. We talk about the local wildlife and ecosystems on that paddle. We even have a game we play if we're feeling pretty comfortable with the group. They're rubber rats. And so you try to toss them into other people's boats, and if you get it into their boat, they have to do like a 360. So that's pretty fun. And that takes about an hour to 2 hours, and then we get out and send them on their way. But we're really Yeah, great question. So we had 3 launches last year. We had one in Maynard at Ice House launch. We had one in Framingham at Kellogg Park. We had one in Billerica at the Parks and Rec land there. And then this year, we're hoping to expand to Concord at the Southbridge Boathouse, to also have a River Rat site there as well this year. So that is River Rats. Next, we have our Concord River Race. Again, we did it for the first time last year, and we had 60 participants. We maxed out our registration. We held this at the Bedford Boat Ramp in Bedford along the Concord River. And it was great. We had canoes, kayaks, stand-up paddle boards. Everyone had a great time. And you can head to the next slide. We're doing the same this year. We had a 3-mile and a 6-mile last year. And it's also part of NECRA, which is the New England Canoe and Kayak Race Association. So this is a point series race. So it's really great because we get a lot of people who are looking to rack those points and are really skilled at racing. But we also offer the 3-mile, and we added a kids race this year to make it more accessible for people of all skill levels. And we also increased to a 9-mile this year, which was going to be really fun. So yeah,
The
that's
turnaround point's in Concord for that, so that's going to be right at the North Bridge.
That'll
and
be
then,
great. Saturday, May 9th. Okay.
yeah, it's exciting.
I look forward to. Okay.
Yeah. You can head to the next slide, and Matt's actually going to talk about our 86 Miles Club Challenge.
So this is kind of where all this recreation stuff started, and a lot of these other ideas branched off from it. So I was involved with another organization, Friends of Blue Hills, and they have a 125-mile club, which is a club. It's an online thing where you sign up, and if you hike all 125 miles of their trail system, you get some cool swag. And I thought we got to do something. We got to borrow that idea and apply it here. So last year we created the official first ever 86 Miles Club. We didn't really designate a specific course. We wanted to make it as accessible to people as possible. So the highest aim that you could have would be to paddle 86 unduplicated miles on the Sudbury, Assabet, and Concord River. But if you wanted to go out and paddle the same mile stretch 86 times, that was also fine. So we created the logo, we kind of created the infrastructure. We had a grant from National Parks Foundation to update our online rec maps, so that helped give people trips to choose from. And we started advertising it, and we got some good interest. We had folks to sign up on our online registration and join our Facebook group. But I think the big surprise was, and you're gonna have this in the next slide. We had someone approach us who said, "Hey, I'm really interested in doing this 86 Miles Club, but I'd like to do it in 2 days." And that's a lot. I don't know how many paddlers we have on the commission here, but 86 miles in 2 days is pretty intense. And at first, I thought he was. I didn't know how serious he was, but it turned out he was very serious. So his name is Chester Osborne, the guy below in the headlamp there. His thing is to do these really intense long distance paddles. He lives in Maynard, and the last one he did was from Maynard to the ocean, including portaging around all the dams. And he's a friend of ours, and he asked if we could do some logistical support for this. So part of that in turn was getting permission from some of the private landowners who own the dams to allow for the portage around them. and also to drop supplies, fresh water, coconut water, other things. And also the big one was to get permission from Concord Land and Conservation Trust to allow him to camp at Scout Island, which they were very gracious and allowed him to do. And you see two boats here. That orange kayak was me. He asked if he could have pacers for most of the paddle. So I paced him from, well, actually, the very bottom picture is in Hudson. So that was where he put in. It was 2:30 in the morning. I dropped him off. I went home, went back to bed for 5 hours, and then I met him in Concord at the Lowell Road boat ramp, and paddled all the way to Billerica, portaged over the Talbot Mills Dam, and then paddled another 5 miles on the other side, and then back. Then I got to go home and go back to bed, and he continued on. So it was quite the feat. And I think right now he definitely has the quickest time for completing the 86 miles, but a lot of other folks also completed it, myself included, just not in 2 days. So it was, I think for the first year doing it, I would have liked to have seen more people sign up. I think our online registration was a little bit challenging, and we're going to try to streamline it this year, but it's something I want to do and just have part of the oars experience. So hopefully people will sign up this year in greater numbers, and maybe if someone's feeling really ambitious, they'll take a crack at beating Ozzy's time, which was like just a hair under 40 hours with a little bit of that's counting the time he slept at Scout Island. So it was a blast. It was a lot of fun. I don't know if I'd ever want to paddle 30 miles at a stretch again, but it was fun.
Is that the last one?
We also have our Oars Three Rivers Adventures program, which is meant for team building and corporate engagement. So we have people who work together come and do activities, whether it be just a simple paddle or kind of a trash cleanup along our shorelines and in the boats, or removing invasive species, which I'll talk a little bit about in a second. But yeah, this program gets groups outside working together and making a meaningful difference, which is really great.
Sounds like something our team would do.
We're gonna do that.
Awesome, great. We had a few groups try it out this year. This is one of our programs. We're looking to develop a more comprehensive structure for this year, but it has some great potential, and we're really excited about it. And then the last one, we do a lot of water chestnut pulls. I'm assuming we know what water chestnut is in this room, but just in case, invasive, fast-growing aquatic plant. It's spread rapidly through the Northeast. It's in all three of our rivers in the watershed, and it outcompetes native plants, and it's really bad for the ecological balance of our rivers. So if you go to the next slide, we do lots of water chestnut pulls. So we did 8 in our watershed last summer. So we get the kayaks, we get the baskets, we give people gloves, and we get them out on the water to physically remove these plants. And I will say I did one in September, and it was so much fun. You get dirt all over you, but by the end of the day, it's really great because you really see the impact you're making on the river. Because you show up and it just looks like grass, and then you leave and it looks like a river again. So we're really hoping to keep this program up at the level it's been this year, and expand. We had 2 water chestnut pulls in Concord this past year from the Southbridge Boathouse. So we're really excited to keep that going. And then one more little snippet. Part of our 40-year celebration is lots of fun little events this year for our community. And one of those is the Carnival of Boats. We're planning to have this in June or July. And what's really neat about this is we're hoping to host it at Egg Rock, because Egg Rock was inscribed for the 250th celebration of Concord being established. And so there used to be a community gathering at Egg Rock every year where people would show up in boats, listen to music, celebrate, talk, and celebrate that 250 year mark. And so with this being America's 250th and Egg Rock being a 250th celebration, we really want to bring that back, bring the community onto the water, music, maybe barbecue, maybe have people decorate their boats or dress up. And we want, this is going to be in Concord, so community organizations, businesses, the public, and so we kind of wanted to look like this event. This was the Winter Solstice Paddle we did in 2015, and we just want to bring the community together, especially in the beautiful season of June and July, and just bring back that tradition. I think would be really fun. So that's another way we might.
I remember the summer solstice, unless it was a really balmy December.
Oh, did I say winter?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so
Maybe
sorry.
I'll
I
mention that.
meant
Winter
summer.
solstice. What are you looking at?
So I know before we jump into questions, I do want, like, ORS still very much is primarily a science, policy, and ecological restoration focused organization, and but with recreation, that you get a lot of bang for your buck. You don't have to put a ton of effort and energy into these programs to reach a lot of people. So that's kind of why we're leaning into it, because we really want to, like, all the people that founded ORS, we have our kind of organizational mythos that it was a group of anglers and paddlers who got together and put their energy and efforts into saving the Assabet, but they didn't just appear out of thin air loving paddling and loving fishing. They grew up and had these like formative experiences doing those things, and not everyone gets the opportunity to do that. Like Callie said, paddling and even fishing, there's a pretty high bar for entry. And as an organization who really relies on volunteers and just individual contributors, it really is in our best interest to help foster that love and care and excitement for our rivers. So that's why we're doing this, and why it's become not a huge financial piece of what ORS does, but kind of a huge uh, piece of like where our heart is right now.
Thank you so much, Matt.
It's great.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having us.
Next questions.
I have a question for you, Matt. This is Phil Griffiths, one of the commissioners. Without getting too far into the science of it, what's your biggest sort of advocacy challenge right now? What's the big issue in the watershed or along the river? Is there one particular location or practice or something that you guys are focused on?
I think the biggest concern right now is that, we relied previously on the EPA for enforcement when we had issues with discharges into the rivers. And right now the EPA, that water quality is not their highest priority, unfortunately. And when we do have individual water treatment plants that exceed their permits, we don't it's organizations like us have to really take up some of the slack and really potentially take on some of those enforcement tasks. So we are dealing with that right now. I'm not going to say the name of the town, but it's not Concord, with a town that is actually exceeding that permit. And that may mean that we have to take legal action, which is something that is a big task for a tiny organization like us. But the other issues that we're dealing with are emerging threats. We have pharmaceuticals and PFAS in our rivers that really weren't on people's minds back in 1986. And currently there aren't easy ways to monitor for those things in our rivers. So we're working with our water quality science program and our science and policy committee to hopefully find ways to test and sample for those emerging threats. And then the big one is just the climate changes, and that we're having these weird winters where it's cold and then it warms up, and it's cold and it warms up, and municipalities are using a lot of road salt to combat the freezing. And that's causing a lot of salt to flow into our streams and rivers, which again is not something that was on folks' minds 40 years ago, but now it's a major threat. So the salinity or chloride in our conductivity in our waters is an issue. And then other things, just the flow. I mean, we've been in a drought stage for most of the last 5 years, give or take a couple really wet, periods of time. And that also has some pretty major impact on the habitat in our rivers and the water quality. So lots of things are going on.
These are all very exciting things, and I would be willing to bet you're going to get some pretty high participation from Concord folks in some of these things. And we will push them out, and we can be happy to sort of, like, speaking on behalf of Maggie and Lena, we'd be happy to sort of promote the activities in our communications that go out and see if we can get some more people engaged. It's very exciting.
That'd be fantastic. You know, Concord's been great for us work as a partner on a number of projects. So we're happy to have the help and you know, we're happy to be part of the community.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you
for
very-
having me.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. We'll do this again in 40 years. No, no.
I'm not gonna be working at Oars in 40 years, or I'm not gonna be working in 40 years. I hope I'm still on the planet, but
Thank you, Matt.
thank you. Thanks for having us.
All right, next, Lee is on, and DJ, you want to talk about proposed fee increases?
Thank you.
I'll let DJ kick it off. I'm just gonna say.
So we've highlighted three areas that we're looking to increase costs for some programming this year, based on some adjustments that are being made at those areas. So the first one being White Pond, we are adding the parking attendant booth this year. So we're in progress of working with CMLP, IT, engineers to get the new pole put in, get the parking booth delivered. So we're looking to increase all membership pricing by $15. The last increase we did was in 2023 when we split into our tiered system. We're gonna keep our guest fees that come with members at $5 per person, ages over 3, and day passes with non-members at $15. Other reasons are lifeguard retention. When we keep lifeguards, they get an increase. So we keep quality staffing. Also higher trainings that we do at the pond comparative to just Beatty. So yeah, we're looking at White Pond as one area to increase those pricing. That
DJ,
pricing.
excuse me, that
Yes, sir.
$15 membership increase, what is it now? What does that represent as a percent of?
So right now, a resident individual is $100. It's gonna go to 115.
Okay.
For the season, right?
Yeah, and that's for the entire season.
Yeah.
Can I add something? Is this a good time to
Yep.
add something, DJ? Okay, so yeah, so I just want to state, mostly for the audience in the room, I know the commission knows, we're a revolving fund. So it is up to us to get our 100% cost recovery, on fees. And so when we add a structure like this, that is gonna obviously cost us money, and then we're gonna add additional staff. It's important that we make these adjustments to our fees so that we can cover the cost of that enhancement. The enhancement in the hut at the top of the drive, what the idea was brought on, I think by ourselves, if I'm correct, and the commission, as a way to help manage the site better. We have had some management issues at White Pond, over the last 2 summers. DJ's been around it a lot more than I and can speak to that, but that is the reason that we're adding the hut at the top of the drive to better manage traffic in and out. And the costs associated are why we're doing this charge mostly, but he mentioned the other reasons. So that'll be for each of these 3 areas, same reason. We're asking to increase fees and trying to get your permission and support so that we can cover the costs for ourselves in the revolving fund.
Unrelated question to that. You probably don't know the answer to this yet because you haven't started recruiting, but lifeguard retention is always a huge problem for every organization. Do you guys anticipate that you'll be able to get a bunch of people back, or
We've already started.
yeah,
Yeah.
coming back?
Yeah, we have
That's great.
kids that are back for college break, work some shifts at BD and express the interest to come back again. We still have other guards that are there that want to continue.
That's
So, and we're looking at, market pricing for lifeguards and how much they're gonna cost. But yeah, we've started that process already.
That's great. I'm glad to hear that. It's still the best deal in town.
Yeah.
Such a gem. It is one of the most gorgeous places I've seen in town so far. It's
It's a
beautiful.
great spot.
It will also allow our guards to primarily focus on the beach rather than having to deal with a guest checking in and kids running everywhere. They're able to kind of scope down their job.
Their focus.
Oh, because all the payment will happen at this.
Everything's
the
gonna be
top.
done up top, so
Exactly, yeah.
The payment and
you
they're gonna
check in.
They're gonna
yeah.
check in, so the parking attendant is gonna be able, I mean, the one in charge to check in.
Yep.
And
So,
like,
yeah, we'll be paying for it.
members.
Internet, electricity, all of that has to go with those amenities.
I remember 2 summers ago was a problem. I mean, like
Mhm.
and how did it go this past summer? Like it was
Better. We put people up in the parking lot this year to walk around more. And then we're just gonna build off of that. So we still have the same parking issues. We met with the state fishing game to enhance some signage
Mhm.
down the boat ramp area to kind of clarify where the beach is, where some parking can and cannot happen. So we've started to make those steps about midway, but August,
Mhm.
yeah, midway through the summer. So, and yeah, so we're just gonna take the next steps now.
Yeah, I think it's a great step. Still the issue with the boat ramp, the people can park there, and that's, I mean, but it's only like so many cars that can park there, right?
Yeah.
But it's kind of, it's tricky.
We talked about a specific signage, as he said, we met with the rangers that manage that. Of course, there's only 3 of them for the state or
Yeah.
something really ridiculous, right? It's not really, practical for them to quote unquote police that as much.
Yeah.
So we had some fun conversations about what that sign is gonna look like in the future. That says you cannot go in here, or parking and the rules basically. So, how
Yeah.
big it needed to be actually seen. That was some of the witty banter that we had, but fencing. So we'll see an enhancement there for signage for sure. I mean, our part is gonna be this one,
Yeah.
recreation's.
So yeah, and aside from that, there's people who park in like the neighborhood and then walk. So, but that's, I guess most people want to just park there.
And now that
So that would solve most of the problem, I think, the parking is there. So it's good.
the bike path at the other end, that's the way to get into the other side of the.
Little Sachem Street. Yeah, we can't see that.
But
We-
then-
We don't have
I
enough
didn't
to
see
cover
that.
a second booth.
Yeah.
over there, so.
actually, it's not allowed. Actually, you cannot.
It is not, that's why. I said-
There are trails that are posted there.
No, but it's a sign that you bikes. Are
You
not,
can't ride your bike, but you can walk down.
but
People are
then,
doing it all the time, myself included.
but they won't be on the beach. I think like, they kind of have to go around anyway.
It's still,
Another issue, I'll deal with that one
it's a great resource. So I'm glad you're doing it. And
Yep.
when we had these conversations this time last year, we were anticipating a huge influx of people because Walden Pond was closed and it didn't really happen, did it? Or were the numbers in?
I really don't think it did happen. It was funny. At first, we were nervous about that, and so we watched it really closely, and we actually didn't see much problem. And I remember DJ and I talking about that around the why we thought that. And I figure that I think we landed on commercially, people knew and were spreading the word that there was no lifeguard. A lot of families were using that site and they liked the idea that there was a lifeguard there and et cetera. And then, of course, all the signage went up to not swim and it wouldn't be overseen for safety. So people did go and swim in the pond, but it wasn't. I think the word must have spread around Boston that it really wasn't open, for business.
Mhm.
But yeah.
And DK, you said 550. I mean, it's 100 per resident.
Right now it is, yeah, and it'll go up to one
What
hundred
about
fifty.
non-residents?
Right. So a non-resident, it's going from 130 to 145
So it's
for an individual, and then we have the couple option and the family option.
okay. 130, so it's $30 more for residents.
Yeah, across the board on each option.
Okay.
And they sell out, right?
Last
Yeah.
year we did 656 memberships total. And 2024, we did 609. So we went up, we did more day passes last year than we have in the past as well. So we've got more traffic. I think we did a better job of managing the traffic, but still not I'd say to the expectation that the members expect and that we would hope for. So we're just gonna keep adjusting.
Yeah,
But there's no limit, right? In the number of right now,
No.
right?
No,
Where is
we've
it?
set a limit in the past. A few years ago, we set it and realized that it's kind of hard to do that based off of, if we set a limit, it's hard to judge where it could be
Yeah,
because of how many people in and out and the time frames.
You don't know when they're gonna.
well,
So,
it's vacations too. Think
Yeah,
of your
yeah.
families, all your friends that go on vacation, so they want to buy in, but they might only go for a week.
Yeah.
So it would be horrible if we just blocked it for everyone else because, so
Yeah.
we took away the limitations. We haven't had problems yet. Of course, we would talk to you all about bringing it back if we feel like we need to, but it's not necessary in Concord yet.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that there was one, but maybe it was during the COVID or something. Like
Yeah.
there
Oh,
was-
yeah, there
We
were.
used to have to do reservations. and-
Yes,
Yeah.
he was telling me about that. I wasn't here.
Yeah, it was a good idea. Actually, yeah, I enjoyed that.
We actually we've been able to
Yeah,
implement
it's something
a
different.
we've been able to implement a prorated 50% discount membership halfway through the summer.
Uh-huh.
So right around July 15th or so, we set those out.
Hmm.
For anyone that's, maybe showed up once or twice for the summer beforehand and wants the membership for the rest of the year.
Okay. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions on White Pond? Okay. So for carousel and childcare, we went with a 3% increase, which is standard industry practice. We have some of the best teachers and staff around, whether it's carousel and in our after school program, all very qualified, very experienced. So the retention of them is our highest priority. So looking at those salary increases, we also set a departmental goal for FY 26-27 to reinvest in carousel and to provide those quality programming and supplies and furniture and everything that goes with it. So although the increase probably could go more than that, the 3% is going to cover exactly what we're looking for, and before we get into cost recovery.
So we currently have what DJ was just referring to around before we get into cost recovery, that statement. I'll remind the commission that we did an RFP this year for full analysis for our financial sustainability for the foreseeable future. So that's a massive project that is underway right now. We have our RFP already issued. We have our bid. The selection committee has looked at that, and we'll get that project underway. That project, the end goal, the outcome is going to be an actual model for our financial sustainability. You'll take part in some of the conversation with the consultant. But at the end of the day, it's going to give us some real good insight into how we can manage ourselves going forward, so that we can do the amazing things that we do.
We look forward to seeing that.
Okay. Any questions on childcare? Okay. And summer camp was the final area that we looked at. Again, our last increase came in 2023. Since then, we have seen a great increase in quality in our staff that have come back. We have many that are coming back for their third year. Our camp directors put a lot of effort into increasing the memorable moments of camp, that we hope last lifetime. But we're adding more field trips. The cost of those field trips are going up. We are still well below market value from surrounding areas. And then we're increasing our vendors and vendor pricing that comes with that to, again, just bring more options, more different activities and things like that to the day-to-day. And we are, again, looking at that half-day vendor camp, half-day summer camp. So looking to kind of bring it all up closer to where the standard is around us, price-wise.
Question on that, when you compare yourself to surrounding markets, who are you comparing yourself to? Are you talking about private camps or are you doing other?
I kind of separate, I'll separate the privates out because Fenn's right around, I think, 1,400 a week. 1,300 a week. So if you look at, I think I looked at the town of Weston was like 450 a week. Some of the we're right around the YMCA right now, which is the $350 to $400 per week. Other towns, Sudbury is up around 600 a week or so. And then there's a lot that are more childcare daycare than summer camp. So we are really trying to make summer camp come alive with all the experiences, field trips, and things like that.
DJ, do we still have an active scholarship program for the summer camp?
Yes, we do. This past year,
How's that funded?
so in kind, and we actually just completed an application for the Concord Carlisle Foundation. So we put a bid in for $15,000 towards scholarships for summer camp.
Otherwise, it's generated fees,
Yep.
yeah, for our programs, we give it in kind.
In kind, yeah. Last year we did a little over 35,000
I thought it was 56.
overall,
Ah.
that including school year, but summer camp alone was right around 35.
So it's funded by our funds and from some other vendors.
Just-
So can we say that no child can't go to summer camp because of financial reasons?
Correct.
Is that pretty true? Yeah.
Yep.
Good. That's really good.
Mhm.
Yeah, we offer what we can. Those that it may not be enough have gone to other services, but have not come back to us. And obviously we'd look and see what we can do for more. But we follow the federal guidelines and then accommodate, case by case.
Good.
That's great.
So yeah, again, across the board for that, our K through 2, Assabet and Sudbury for 3 through 6, we're looking to increase $35 per week. Again, covering transportation, staffing, and higher quality programming.
No increase for the older kids. Aren't there
The
older?
Trekkers, we are going to go, I believe, to 450, and the CIT we're going up to 700 flat from 695.
Okay,
So relatively, Trekkers right now it was around 4. Maggie, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe 420, 425, right in there.
It was around there.
Yeah.
Um,
So, and they do the majority of the field trips, so increasing them a little bit. I think they
Yeah.
do 3 field trips a week, so.
Yeah.
And when's the registration open?
February 4th for residents, February 11th for non-residents.
at
and-
7 a.m.
Yeah, if you want to be ready, be ready at
Tattooed on
7.
your forehead, ready to go.
That's the day I sleep in, turn the alarm off.
Calling in late. Yeah, I can't make it today.
7:30.
Okay.
Be ready at 7.
But be ready at 7. Just for Fred.
For how long did it take to fill it up? Maybe
Some weeks, yeah. Some weeks,
let's do
48 seconds.
48 seconds.
Well, I will have timestamps of 7:30
Mhm.
and like 58 seconds that are on the wait list.
Wow.
It's pretty cool.
There's specific one, like Trekkers always fills up, inclusion, but that's you register just to get the intake, and it's very limited. But what we notice is that it really depends on the grade. So like there are certain grades where there's just a lot of kids. So I think 2 years ago, it was the 2nd grade class,
the
and then
fourth grade
last
this
year
year.
they were 3rd grade. Now they're gonna be it's like the same group of kids.
Every other.
And then like the grade below them has like half the amount of kids. So it's interesting to watch it, but yes, we definitely still fill out in certain weeks. Week 9's always the big one.
When's the,
Did you say that you are expanding the capacity of the camp? Did we talk about that at a meeting?
I think yeah, in some ways, I think what you're probably thinking about is that we've been testing some different ideas and piloting different ideas, piloting a nature camp. And that kind of thing. I think right now, after DJ and I met around this fiscal year, we're gonna focus on filling seats. And we're gonna focus on quality,
Mhm.
and then we might look at that. Again,
Yeah, we'll look at, again, our fill rate. Like Trekkers, we realized is very popular. So our 3rd grade may be down, but we may add an extra Trekkers group to a
Got
group
it.
because we're able to relocate staff, and things like that. But yeah, expansion, we're kind of limited space wise, but we actually just spoke with Alcott for our half and half day camps about using their space for our vendor in the mornings, and then the kids will come here in the afternoon.
That's good.
So we're able to utilize their space along with open space here with staffing.
not to jump ahead to our ongoing capital investment kind of discussions, but is the physical capacity of this building is the biggest thing that holds you back from? Expand
I
your
would
camp
say
programs.
there's a few things. We have some issues around, which is why, keep in mind, we have our hunt feasibility study this year that I need to put out to RFP. That's part of it. We have some limitations, our locker room. As you can imagine, in the morning, there's 200 kids here? 200 kids here and they all have to go to the restroom, right? They all use the changing area in there for their swimsuits and they were going out to the pool. That's a serious limitation. We don't have any restrooms for our staff that time. There's interesting things like that are limits. I wouldn't say that, the gym's a limit. We're mostly outside. DJ, would you agree with that?
It is. It's rain, storms, things like that, then we're cramped. But other than that, every space is filled and everyone's rotating through, but we just have music and drama down there, gym for archery, and then everyone's outside.
Outdoor sports, yeah, sports and, yeah. Or they're on field trips. You can imagine it's a logistical,
Yeah.
kind of nightmare, but we do it well.
Mhm. Well, I'm in support of all of these. I don't know if you have more to say, but
Need a vote from us?
We would like that would be great, just to make sure that everybody supports it, if we could get that feedback.
Certainly supported. I just don't know, is there comprehensive list that we ought to actually look at to vote on?
We put a vote on here, DJ?
It does say discuss and vote.
Yeah, it does. So then that would be a yes. So where was the list you just passed out? I moved on.
So it's
here-
White Pond.
I can read it for you. And-
I'm just wondering if there's others,
No, this is it. This would be
I just-
the only few changes that we're asking for before our.
so we've gone through the comprehensive step. Okay. Then I guess we can accept a motion to approve the proposed changes.
Yeah, so moved.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
We can post it for the public meeting.
Thank you.
And just as a side note, the affordability of some of the remarkable resources we have in GA is, it's great. It's pretty impressive.
The teachers at Carousel in particular. I think
Oh,
are
okay.
excellent.
Oh, yeah.
All right, what was the next? I'm
The
sorry.
next item.
That's back to me, sorry. Next,
Changes, to.
dental changes and cancellation policy, all right.
I could do a little introduction to this and then I'll pass it over to DJ. I guess what I'll share with you is, that DJ and I dive deeply into the budget, and we dive deeply into studying, what we need to improve on. And one of the items that DJ found, is that we are not covering our expenses. And I think mostly it can. And so, but there are some other areas that I think I'll talk about. And so we really need to look at our cancellation policy. As I just stated, we need to be 100% self-sufficient. And when we realize that there's different categories that are really taking a hit on our current cancellation policy, we decided to look at it more closely. And so we did look at it more closely. And so we have a recommendation for a change to the policy that will help assure that we can actually pay, of course, all of our staff for all of our field trips, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll let him speak to the specifics, walk us through what you are holding in your hand.
Do you want to start with the general or the specific?
Go ahead and start at the top. General.
So with the general cancellation policy, it revolves around a program that needs to be either canceled on our end or by a participant. So what we're looking for is if a participant is canceling. Right now, we have a $25 cancellation fee. We are looking to increase that to $35. Excuse me. And the other big change that we're looking at is an area that's been kind of confusing to participants, staff, is the cancellation being at least 7 calendar days. Considering we don't work the weekends and camp starting on Mondays, a lot of people try and call on the Monday before. That's technically not, and there's 7 calendar days, but we don't have that on our business days. So we're looking to change that for any cancellation, general cancellation to 10 business days. Anything inside of that would just, you would not get a refund unless there was a medical or documented reason.
So when you say we're not covering it, do we get what, 10%? How often are people canceling and you're losing money because there's a slot that's not filled, but
It costs us every transaction we make in our operating system. It costs us a fee plus the person
so it's a
operating
financial banking fee
Wow.
or system fee.
that, and the cost of the staff operating and doing all the changes, creating new schedules, things like that. There's
Okay.
more work than just.
So this has to do with fees and staff processing to not impact on the programs.
It can have an impact on the program. If we have a minimum of 5 people that need to be in the class and 5 people register, one person cancels less than inside that time frame, we'd have to cancel the class.
Does that happen a lot?
Not often. It's also on our end, not so much because we work with our vendors and are able to kind of work things around. But again, it takes time with the staff to make all of that happen.
I think, I guess something I'd like to share too, and maybe you mentioned it, I'm sorry, I was thinking while you were talking. So I hope I'm not double saying it, but it's really important to understand that when we commit to our staff, we commit to them at least 2 weeks out to make their schedule. and we're gonna pay them. So, and then we make all of our field trips ahead of time too. So just because someone wants to cancel, their plans change, et cetera. We expect cancellations. That's fine. That's absolutely normal. But for us, we have to commit. We already paid our field trip. We already paid for you to go on your field trip. That field trip could be $150 if it's like challenge course or rafting or something like that. And we're losing that every time. And so when we started looking at this, we thought, okay, this is not going, we can't continue to do this. So we need to make some sort of change. So for me, it's the bigger picture of committing to our staff, paying our staff, and making sure that we have the funds in place to commit to the reservations that we've already made that we cannot cancel. So
But
that-
what we've talked
it's a little
about right now, it's more like the other programs, right? Not the,
This one's more programming,
The
but
other
it
side.
started with camp and
I
then.
started with Khan,
Yeah,
okay.
the evolution of it.
And you also have to find, I mean, do you call people on the wait list then? I mean, it's also.
That's
part of
the-
time
that's-
that
yep.
It is.
So it's,
Yeah. Call them and see who someone have can fill the stock, the
Correct.
spot, right?
yep, it's then, depending on the time frame, they may have moved on to something else. So, and there may only be one or two people, and then that's the loss of the first person's revenue plus the potential fill spot. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a double-edged sword.
Does the processing and those fees occur as soon as the person like signs up online, or is that like a manual
Every
action that
transaction that we click.
Okay, because I'm just thinking back to my own experience. I've canceled a bunch because I get one kid in at 7:31, and then at 7:32, there's not room for the second, and I need them
Yeah.
to go together. So yeah, that's just the part. But that happens quickly. Like I realized that an hour later, and I'm like, well, then I can't
Right, and that's
Just
different.
do it.
Just to give a little
Yeah.
insight, so we have we have a third party gateway, that's our credit card gateway, and it usually takes about 24 hours to process. So if somebody registers for something, it won't actually hit until the next
I
day.
see.
So then if they want to cancel the same day, or if like they called and made a mistake, then we can just void it so the payment never goes through and
I
then
see.
no charge happens.
Yeah.
So in cases like that,
Yeah.
you're not gonna
Yeah.
get all those fees or anything. And we also pay the credit card fees.
Mhm.
The customer does not.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, usually for
Yeah.
those cases, it does
Yeah.
take about 24 hours to process.
Got it.
So you're not hurting.
Yeah.
Oh.
No.
Yeah, that's
You're not
how
the only
it must
one.
be with after school and camp. I like
I know.
people can click
I'm
a lot
sorry.
faster than I can.
Yeah.
So, no,
I
that's
really
fine.
am.
It's fine. They're good services. I try to be as fast as I can.
So, some of the general policy, we're looking just to kind of clean up some language, up the fee from $25 to $35 and change that from the language from 7 calendar days to 10 business days.
Sounds reasonable.
Yep.
The summer camp, Camp Three Rivers specific cancellation and transfer policy. This one, we kind of have been working through and is what led us to wanting to make some changes, needing to make some changes. So off the bat, we are looking to establish the registration dates being the first Wednesday in February for residents, second Wednesday for non-residents. Currently, right now at registration, a 50% deposit is due upon registration. There's nothing tying the person registering to that program and can cancel at any time without fear of losing that money. We have a $25 cancellation fee, but that's about it. So one change, and that I'll explain in a little bit how that has been hurting us, but we are looking to make the 50% deposit at registration non-refundable going forward, and then adding a payment plan that the final 50% payment be due on May 1st before camp starts.
Instead of, or was it that,
Previously, it was if you were in weeks in July,
Mhm.
you would pay in June. You would pay the remaining balance in June. If you were in August, it would be the final payment in July. So it was like a
1 month.
month in advance.
and that's gonna be always same day for all programs?
Yeah, for everything. So that was just for final payment. You could cancel up till 7 calendar days
Mhm.
before the week starts. Again, we'd get a call on a Monday for the following Monday, and we'd have to honor it, even though we're only working 4 days of that. And they would get everything back. So if, $400 a week, they'd get $375 back less the $25 cancellation fee.
How hard is it to fill the slot?
Cannot fill.
Yeah,
On 4 days.
You cannot fill it. Everyone at that point has found a new camp,
right.
found other childcare, found a vacation. So we also felt that May 1st, a lot of summer planning has been done for the most part.
families.
Yep, for families, for vacations. Obviously, again, case by case, if things come up, we're more than willing and more than happy to help and accommodate. But we would be, in essence, losing almost $1,000 per kid that canceled. And within that week span.
Do you think that if changing it to 10 days, you
Still will not.
you still wanna, right? Not a difference.
Oh, okay, so the 10 days
It's
doesn't
just
apply at all
programs.
to this.
No, this
Okay.
is a specific summer
see.
camp. Policy.
Mhm.
And is that 50% deposit non-refundable on a date in February and May 1st final payment? Is that comparable to the groups of people you benchmark yourself to? Is that what other YMCA's and towns do?
Almost every other place we looked at, you will not see any money back once you register. And that's final payments, deposits. A lot of places, some places, not a lot, require 100% upfront with nothing. We've seen deposit fees in some areas, but there's a lot of non-refundable
Yeah.
deposits
So
being
it's,
made.
it's all happening right now. All the camps around here have their January deadlines and those of us with kids are still flipping away. It's
Can speak for myself, just anecdotally to let DJ catch his breath a little bit on this, but I lived in Medfield and had two girls, of course, so I'm on in January every year. And once you paid, it was 1,000, whatever. There was a lot of money for a couple girls, $1,500, let's say, that was gone. So if you change your plans, you don't get it back. And it's all about because they're committing to those field trips, they're
Yeah.
committing to their
Mhm.
staff, they've already hired them, they're already paying them. And so that it's kind of doing our part. So I can see why they had that policy. It wasn't comfortable, but I could see why they did it. And so we just need to move ourselves closer so that we're not losing so much money.
makes sense.
So flipping to the other side, again, any changes to be made before May 1st, you'll just be charged the cancellation fee. You will not have to pay any second part of that if you're canceling. On May 1st, the final payment was due, the final 50%, and then canceling any June week. So I think we have 2.5 weeks in June. Give you a week between May 1st and May 8th, and you will get 50% refund on that final payment that was made on May 1st. So, plus the cancellation fee,
So it's 75% you're
roughly.
roughly, yeah, okay.
Any July weeks, if you cancel by June 1st, you'll get a 50% refund on the final payment. And any August weeks, cancel by July 1st, you'll get a 50% refund on that final payment. So again, we're committing to our staff, we're committing to our programming, committing to field trips. And we're just trying to kind of get that same commitment.
I mean, it sounds like to me like you're just, for lack of better, so you're coming up to standard operating procedures that most other camps are already using. In fact, probably still a little more generous, although there are still some around here that have more than, more change friendly policy, but in general, this makes a lot of sense. Any questions? And this will go into play, this will go into this year.
This year,
We're talking about
yes.
this year, the next.
I'm
Yep.
talking about tomorrow. No, I'm just kidding. In some cases.
For registration, if we get your approval, we'd like
Well,
to
you
move
might wanna
forward with
have
our marketing and.
The open house on
communication.
Friday, you might want to be able to tell because you're gonna get a lot of questions
Yeah.
about that on Friday.
A-frame.
So,
For this season, but
Yes.
yeah, no, I mean, I think I wish we lived in a different world where there weren't processing fees and people knew and we could do all those things, but it makes sense.
did we call for a vote on this? I think we did.
Yeah.
Because it's policy based, yes.
Anybody have any final questions or? I think we should approve and motion to approve. And second,
Again,
all those in favor? Aye. All right, thank you. Yeah, good. I'm interested to see how, if anybody
anybody who's been coming camp for a couple of years suddenly asks you questions about why it's changed. and
Yeah.
See what happens.
Just, we'll be ready for it.
Yeah.
We're expecting it, so, I mean, it's change.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, it's tough. I mean, I know they're,
it's in the wallet, so it's even more so. Thank you.
people hedge their bets. It's amazing.
you.
People will schedule for nothing, try and get things and hedge their bets.
So that also is what led us to
It's a
kind of
dogfight.
looking more into it. We put reasons on our cancellations, and a lot of it was went on vacation, went to another camp.
Yeah.
Things that
They could have known.
were
Yeah.
known in advance, yes.
No, it's a. All right, thank you. Recreation revolving fund balance. So this is the question that, come up a couple of times, and for a long time, we've been sort of getting asked by Finance Commission and the town manager and various other people to spend down whatever that means, the excess funding in the recreation revolving fund, but without ever getting any sort of definitive answers as to how much that money was and what we ought to be spending on it, what we ought to be spending it on. So we've asked for some more detailed analysis of just how much, what might be considered funds available for capital investment, which is not what we usually do with this fund. It's meant to maintain our programs. Money comes in, money goes out, like all the different things we've been talking about here. Its purpose is not capital investment, but Lee's going to talk to us a little bit. What we're in the position that during the pandemic, there was some funding that was made available primarily for childcare purposes, which allowed us to shift a whole lot of funds onto federal grants for a period of time, rather than directly out of the revolving fund, which allowed the fund to grow more than it has in the past. So there was a larger balance that has been in there. So philosophically, since it's an appropriate question to ask what funds are there, but the question I always wanted to know was, well, how much do we need to maintain in that fund so that we don't put ourselves in danger? We've got to commit money to field trips and staff, and it comes and goes at different times. How much should we have? What's the right number to keep in there rather than just a vague spend it down question? So we've asked for a little more detail on that, so that we can actually decide or recommend. It's ultimately, the town managers and other people's decisions what we do here, but or what our recommendations would be to where we ought to invest that and how much we have. So Leah's done some digging in with the finance department and the town manager's office to answer some of those questions, I think.
Sure, should I speak to kind of where we are?
Yeah,
Right now.
what have you found out?
Okay, so you might have seen in the meeting packet, there was a letter from Jessica Porter too, who couldn't make it today, but she's the assistant town manager, my supervisor, and our department sits within the human services. So she did do some digging and she wrote a letter to the commission. It was in the packet, you probably read that. And it alluded to some of what Phil had just described. We did meet, myself, Jessica, and then I've also talked to the new CFO in town, and we feel really comfortable with at least having $1 million in reserve for the case of an emergency, something that's not planned.
But that's based on what we think is
The
average
cost
of
of
3
about
months,
3 months.
average of
Yeah.
3 months expenses.
About
That
3
was that's the policy that the finance committee, or I don't know who makes these policies, many years ago. Instead of state that a revolving fund should look to have 2 to 3 months of operating expenses in reserve, which for us works out to about $1 million.
It's about $1 million. And so right now we started the year with about 2.1. If you recall, I brought you a capital plan at the beginning of our budget season happens in the fall. So every year I'll bring you capital improvement plan ideas. If we have funds, you can vote on to choose to fund some portion of that or not. And as Phil said, it's really important for us to know that we're trying to do, a one-time support of, for instance, Ride Out Park, which is the next item on our agenda. But we don't expect it to happen time and time again. We expect this is just a one-time support. But for now, I think when we go to the next agenda, you'll see that the Ride Out Sports project is likely to take what I'm comfortable spending for this year for a capital project. So it'll leave us about $1 million and probably a little, maybe slightly over. It'll depend on how much that project actually comes to cost us, which we'll talk about in a minute.
So there's a distinction between the revolving fund in the case of the enterprise fund at the beginning, we keep about a 6 months.
Exactly.
Reserve in there because they are, for lack of a better term, wholly off the books of the town. Any capital investment, there's no, that all comes out of that fund, so they need a larger cushion. So based on town policy, and based on the fact that there was, federal funding for a short period of time that allowed us to do it, there's this difference of about a $2.1 million balance at the end of the year, and about $1 million that we want to keep as our sort of operating reserve so that you guys can do what you need to do in and out every given year. Again, there's a bunch of different ways you can look at it. It leaves about $1.1 million that the town manager and the finance office have said is about the amount that's in it, that you guys should try to spend on some capital improvement projects.
And we're about to do just that.
It's less than we thought it was going to be when we had this conversation a little while ago, and we had programmed out several years of it. So the best information that we've been able to get you, there's different balances, there's lots of ways to slice this pie, but there's about 1.1 million that got built into the fund because of the fact that we had some federal funds for a number of years that childcare cost, the carousel mainly, or only carousel costs were put onto a federal grant that allowed a little bit of a balance to.
And the net from revenue that we generated that was above our expenses,
Yeah.
right? So we did net. Remember, I was sharing that a lot of it's on the back of the people who actually worked here and worked really hard, to run their programs and get fees. So some of it came from that way as well, not just students, but yeah.
So it works out, as best we can tell, to be about $1.1 million. It is a one-time only situation. The way it's meant to work is the budget this year, the budget for the operating budget nets out, right? So we shouldn't be building, you can build up small bits of excess from year to year, but we should be spending that money and bringing it in. So this is not a issue we should have to deal with every couple of years. It shouldn't be that way. That, as your expenses go up, the amount you can keep in there should go up constantly, the same amount. If there are new programs, new things you get added on, you should adjust that amount accordingly. But as we understand from the town manager's office and from the finance division, that $1 million, which is about 3 months of operating, is what we should keep in there, at least about one. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes. Yeah.
There will, we can look at this issue again at the end of the year when we start seeing money coming in and out and learn about that. Maybe perhaps we ought to have a regular discussion about what that number should be as we see numbers coming in and adjust it and see what's going on. But
You will get it at least once a year without asking for it from me, because we'll do our planning for our budget and our capital every fall. And that's usually when I bring it forward. For those of you that are newer, that's when I bring it forward with the balance and with the request to consider spending it.
Does anybody have any questions or comments or concerns or things that we need to follow up more with? We're taking this as, from conversations with the finance office and the town manager's office, but they've also reiterated in their notes to us, it is not a general expectation that the revolving fund will be used for capital investments. That is not its purpose.
But it's possible. Like,
Yes.
they're not gonna stop it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
they're encouraging us to spend the excess to help the other parts of the budget to get this done, but
I see.
but it's not expected that we would be funding general capital improvements and capital, some operating maintenance things that you could, it all depends on how you define it, but the major capital investments like resurfacing courts and building swimming pools and like that do not come out of the revolving fund because you just can't, it's not a sustainable way to do it. So this is a one-time exception. Is there anything else we need to,
I don't think so. I think that sums it up.
and you're happy with the $1 million, is that?
1 million.
That's the 3-month option.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll memorialize that somehow in some memos between you and the town manager or whatever it is, and let us know if there's anything else you need from us, but I think you've got our support for saying
Thank you.
the 3-month operating retention and spending the rest on the capital project.
Thank you.
All right, which brings us down to where we're gonna spend most of that 1.1 million. It seems like from when we last looked at this project. So where we had left it at the last meeting was we have gotten a recommendation from the subcommittee, the work group, to move forward with the project resurfacing the courts, the basketball courts stay as they are and the tennis courts will stay as they are as well. That was the major part of the discussion. So whether we should do something different there, and the recommendation was to redo it as it is. We had a lot of conversation about that. We wanted to wait before this group sort of took a position on that until we understood if we'd have enough money to actually do that. So maybe at this point, it's worth reviewing what we learned and know about the funding for this one and the latest expectations. And then there was also an open question that I know some people had some questions about, and that was the issue of conduits underneath, and we'll talk about that as well. But let's go through
I slide with the.
Yeah. why don't
let's
you-
just go through the
So
review
this
the
is what I'm
funding.
holding in my hand in case anybody wants it, meaning on the commission who wants it. I'm currently holding the packet in my hand that I've asked Maggie to have ready to load, which she's about to load. And it's the Activitas final proposal. And inside of it, it had projected expenses to do the full refinishing of the courts at Rideout. And so I have a copy here if you'd rather look rather than there. Inside of it, there's two things really to look at. So I've kind of pulled it out here. So if either one of you want to.
It'll all be up there with it.
I think she's gonna be able to show all of it. So we're gonna do the
whole thing, but
yeah,
yeah,
this
this is at least the page with all the numbers on it.
There's one, but let me talk about this real
Yeah.
quick. So we have to look at the initial projected cost. If the Recreation Commission needs to vote and move forward, the subcommittee vote, that would be option one. That's what the subcommittee proposed, that needs to be voted tonight by the commission. But if you do choose to vote this option, we're looking at these projected costs plus some maybe add alternates for the RFP. And that's what you need to discuss tonight. And then also, if you can move forward to the next slide, the basketball courts can't be forgotten. Because we're also gonna refinish those. So I think it's two more.
I don't think they're
So
that,
one
Keep
more.
going.
the basketballs are in, this is the one that they presented at the.
Yeah, it's
can
at
you
the
go-
bottom.
Yeah, can you go to past the question
Yep.
slide that you just saw? Go past that. I think it's,
Yep.
there it is.
There we go.
Keep
And so these sports are also gonna be part of the project. So here's the projected cost for that one. And that's why I printed it, because there's two pages actually we'll have to do the addition on. And then we have to decide if we wanna do add alternates. But again, I might propose that you decide as a commission that you wanna move forward with a certain option, because obviously each of these options has different projected costs.
So can we go through what the total, and what goes with them, do we have enough money to fund them?
Yes.
Before we make that.
Up for it.
Yes,
Just
DJ is here for that purpose. We've already worked together to put some facts and figures together for you. And I think he's getting ready to tell you.
Just one question.
Yes,
This is what they presented at the open hearing.
that's correct. On 10/20
Yes.
on the public hearing.
And then didn't the cost go up for the
Right,
post-tension concrete?
we'll add that.
Oh,
We've-
okay,
we've-
but it's not reflected. in
Okay,
there.
it's
Actually, no, I think that it went up from when they first talked to us in March in October.
correct.
So that was the increased number, I think, that was presented and.
Ooh, I have to look
Those
at
have
that.
it definitely is.
Oh, it definitely is good.
Yeah,
I know you
because-
just
Okay.
studied this.
Yes,
Okay.
because when we first started the conversation. Back in January,
Okay, so
February.
the October numbers they shared are still
Yes.
accurate.
DJ
It's now January.
It was-
My money man.
Yeah, like, I think the post tension originally was 283 or something like that, and it went up to 393.
Yeah,
I see. Okay,
So,
thank you.
current funding that we have is, we were approved from the CPC for $497,153. We have the ARPA funds, which is $130,000. And town meeting approved money of $108,847,
Back in 2019.
2019.
Like, we repeat again, 100,
108,847.
108, no, that's
Oh.
the first one.
Oh, 497, yeah.
Okay,
So that's a total of 736,000.
736. Okay.
For option one with the adults, you're looking at 1.309
So what's the difference between this one?
So that's option one plus basketball.
Plus basketball.
So that's why I was showing the
Yeah.
basketball. We
Plus
did
basketball.
too.
With the post tension, like no.
Post tension not on.
That's the initial project without the
So-
lighting and
so
the
the
post tension.
30.
So yeah, the tennis and pickleball courts are 924 with the adults. The basketball court is 385 with the base and the conduit. No post tension on basketball.
So, sorry, we should have had a slide that laid this out.
Yeah,
There's the basic project cost. If you just take the basketball court
Uh-huh.
and you do that without the post tension concrete, no conduit, that's this number here.
368.
Yeah.
two
Yes.
68.
Okay, and the equivalent for the tennis courts,
505.
504.
504.
The
So you're
base.
talking about 872,
Yep.
That's
Mhm.
correct.
the base cost.
Base.
So that's 138.
DJ's good at this. He's got you.
136,000. You only need 136,000 out of the revolving fund.
Revolving fund, yeah.
Okay.
136, okay.
So that's your baseline. You just
Yeah.
do the basic cost 136,000 out of our 1.1 million.
Correct.
All right, that sounds pretty good. You can get it. But the question then
That
becomes,
without
That's the
anything
question.
else.
So-
That's the very,
that's the baseline.
that's just the initial project cost for both.
So then
That's
the
it.
variables that might go on top of that would be post-tension concrete.
Correct. Which is 393 for tennis and pickle,
And then how much for the basketball courts?
190
It's that much different.
Yeah.
Yes,
size.
It's that much bigger.
yes.
Yeah, it doesn't seem
What
it.
does it add to the life of the courts?
So if we just went with the regular concrete, I believe it was 10 to 15 years tops.
Most.
And then post tension's 25 to 30.
25 to 35, and it was 10.
It was 10 max. Okay.
I'd say, so, but you'd also,
And for concrete.
it worked out.
25 to
Okay,
30.
maybe
For
it
post-tension,
it
yes.
saves the town quite a bit of money over.
Over $1 million.
Over $1 million. If you don't do all the maintenance that you have to do, in fact, you might have to
I'm
redo
pretty
it
sure
two or
that
three
we
times
get
in
it.
that 30-year period.
It saves them over. $1 million.
And so it seems like the state of the art would suggest if you can afford
would
to
be
do
getting
it,
the ones that
the post-tension
Yeah.
concrete makes sense.
My kids spent a lot of time.
There.
That was the analysis we looked at the savings and that's what we had proposed to when we did our analysis as part of the CPC.
Because we factored in what, 2 replacements and the one for post tension.
Are you talking about the difference between the cost over
Yeah.
the course of the time?
You're right. Yeah,
Correct.
we factored it.
At least 2.
Right.
We did the math about 6 or 7 months ago, so pardon me, but yes, we did. When we did it, it was definitely a cost savings of over $1 million. And we did it with CPW, with Eric Shaw, who's the tree warden, served on the subcommittee and is the specialist in town and working, of course, including Doug White, so he had a really good sense of what he was to, so.
So-
The saving would be compared between one.
Over $1 million over the course of 30 years, right? Because you'd have, talking about the post-tension versus the regular. And talking about the investment of doing the post-tension on the tennis pickleball courts. And not doing on the basketball courts, if we just did concrete on both. It would cost us over $1 million in one.
Well, actually, if we don't do the post tension concrete, like we have to replace it before 30 years, right? So
Every
10 years.
every 10 years, so that's the
It
value.
probably builds up to the million that it saves.
Oh, okay, so you just like having to redo it like twice, okay.
There's
So-
higher-
The annual maintenance that Eric Shaw and his team at CBW always has to go out and do anyway, and the 10,000, so we're getting those charges too, so it's well over.
How old are the course right now?
Oh, wow, I looked up
15 or
at the
20?
meeting. It was,
15 or 20?
They're 12 years, yeah.
It was 2014,
2014?
Yeah.
So 11.
Okay, so you're looking.
Yeah, that's
So you're looking, if you were to do
10
both,
years is the max.
if you were to do both the tennis courts and the basketball courts with the post-tension concrete, you're talking about another, the total nut on the revolving comes up.
consider the basketball.
I'm
court
just-
with the-
I'm
Oh, but you're just
sorry,
saying
just
what
saying
it-
from that,
okay.
that would be another $720,000. Okay, which would be, that would put our, plus the, whatever we had before, 136K, plus the 2, would be 719,000. So you're
Yeah.
talking about, we're in for 136 at the baseline if you just do it with asphalt. And if you did both of them, you come at another, you go to a total of 719K investment.
Which is still within our one.
But still within our 1.1, so,
Yeah.
so that, if we're willing to spend the money, that's not gonna be the limiting factor. Question is, what do we wanna do with it? It's the conduit for future, whatever uses they might be, are what, 27,000, so on each board, so there's another 50, 54, 55, so it turns out that if we want to move forward with the ride out project, we have enough funding in the revolving fund that we have identified. Assuming the bids come in to what they're modeling now. Again, these could all go up when a bid goes out. Who knows what might have changed between this and so. If we're willing to do that, what it means is we're spending most of the nut on this one project. We have a couple $100,000 left perhaps, which the next project we had talked about was the feasibility study for this building here and how we could expand it, et cetera. So that's sort of where the funding affects what we're going to talk about, what we want to do. Is everybody comfortable with that?
What about Emerson?
Emerson is, what do you mean? I'm sorry.
Sorry, Monica.
assume what you
Do we have to take into account that if we spend more money right now, would that affect? And because I think the plan was to maybe do the same
We
thing
hope
next year.
to have some money, but now that we know we have a minimum limit of $1 million, we don't really have any funds to do that right
Okay.
now. So the Emerson, part of the Emerson project was moved forward in FY27 budget, partly to be funded by the general fund. There was a meeting a couple weeks ago and they've decided to push out that Emerson project general funded support until FY28. So it won't likely come up until then. But this project had the priority. So this is the one we want right now and then see how
So
FY28
Emerson,
funding comes for the town itself.
So answer the question you're getting at, if we wanted to do a similar type of work at Emerson
Mhm.
and it came in around the same budget,
We do not have.
we would not have the same amount of money in the revolving fund.
Yeah, that's
to-
fine.
To do that. So we would be saying it's a priority to fix right out and we'll deal with Emerson when we'll deal with the money for that when we get it. Because there's not enough in this supposed excess in the revolving fund to fund equivalent amounts of activity at both of those places.
so I was wondering if it would make sense to consider the basic project for right now without the post-tension company. So we have money to do Emerson or what I'm hearing now.
I think that did come up at the subcommittee. The subcommittee decided this was the priority, if I remember correctly. Someone who did the minutes can tell me if I'm wrong. But we decided to focus on write out first and then focus on Emerson. I hope that answers your question. That was the subcommittee. As a commission, you can.
Well,
decide.
that was in response to looking at the problems that needed to be fixed, right?
Mhm.
That's a different question than when you know what your budgets are and you want to try and do one or two projects. That's a slightly different
Yeah.
question. Our priority was to do right out first, based on the fact that it was in worse condition and needed to be done before the other project did. What we have since learned when we were talking about these budgets, we were sort of assuming we had more money in there that we might be able to do a bunch of things with.
Yeah. That's
So
great.
we had talked about the pool out here, we had talked about the
Mm.
courts out here, we had talked about this building. When we finally got the answers as to how much money's available, I think we have to really draw back our scope of what we can spend. Again, this is not what we're meant to be spending this money. There should be a way to find money through the town, the general fund, the CPC, other folks like that, to invest in major capital investments like Ride Out, like Emerson, like this building. It should be coming from elsewhere, not here. Question that sort of confronts us is, we have this one-time opportunity. Do we want to do sort of this one project right and say we'll come up with the money for the other ones at a different time when
Yeah, we got that. 497.
or
Sorry, DJ and I are having a side conversation about the CPC funding that became available. So we have a lot of things lined up for this project too, Dan. We have the vote from 2019 to fund only Ride Out, that town meeting vote. It can
Oh.
only be spent on this. Want to keep that in mind. The CPC has approved the post-tension concrete for $497,000, maybe plus some change.
Oh, that has to be used for post-tension.
Post-tension, yeah.
That was post-tension.
That was
So
what
you see
that's what
that
you have to.
that's what we asked
Oh.
for. So there's a lot of things lining
Ah, okay,
up.
okay. No, I didn't
Us
know that the
to do
CPC.
this project but you're right, and Phil's right, and just for emphasis, this should be a general funded project, which is why, you know, we're saying this is a one-time opportunity for us to contribute. I hope that helps.
Yeah, I'm not saying I understand that
Oh, okay.
right now is a priority and we want to do it. It's more like, shall we consider only doing the basic
Basic.
project and save some money for Emerson? Or no, we should just go with the post-tension concrete.
That's a
which
good
is the
discussion.
difference.
I think you should do the project right. We should do it
Yeah.
the way we want to do it, and we should try to get Emerson done the same way, right? That's the
Yeah.
way we should
Yeah.
think about it. And the funding should come from the sources that are meant to fund capital investments, not from the backs of kids paying to go to camp,
Yeah.
for lack of a better way of saying it.
All right.
That's the way I feel about it too. I just feel like we'll be in this cycle of like constantly replacing the courts. If we do this for 10 years, then it takes like 3 or 4 years to get Emerson done. And then we're coming back to ride out. Like it just feels like we'll constantly be redoing the same things.
There's another wrinkle to the conversation, which is that, you gotta look at certain, where we spend our money is something in places where we can actually also generate additional revenue, right?
Mhm.
If you wanted to, we don't generate any revenue off the basketball courts. We do some and could do with on the pickleball and tennis courts that we couldn't really do in the basketball, that we have not in the past. So you probably want to look at, prioritizing investment in those places that can also spur off more funds to come in through programming in the future too.
Mhm.
I think there's also the larger question, to answer your question about Emerson, there's a whole issue about what's gonna happen to the swimming pool out here, which is gonna be another large piece of investment we probably begin to look at overall with Emerson. So there's a different set of challenges there. But my take on it is that for the town, it saves $1 million over 30 years. That's the state of the art type of project we should be doing. Is putting in the post-tension concrete. We ought to do it right. Then we're gonna do it, and we ought to look at right out as the one that needs to be done and get that one done right. And then we'll see how much money after the bid comes we have left, and we'll talk about what the next projects we might be able to do.
Yeah, the momentum is here to get right out done.
I
The
think so.
money's available now. We should do it.
That's
And
what I think.
Phil, are you saying do post tension for the basketball also?
No, I don't think we should. I think it should just be for the tennis court, but that's where you get into the issue of.
And that's I have a question, and I'm not like, why not? And why? Because actually, if I see it, I like adding post-tension concrete to the basketball court, it would only increase the basketball court cost 50%. Adding it to the tennis court is 80% more. So actually, it's a better deal. The basketball court.
It is,
and it's less money. It's like a better. I mean, it's only 50% more compared to 80% more. So in terms of costs, I think it would make more sense to do it basketball if we're talking about just. That's the way I see it. I mean, so go ahead.
My answer to that would be back from the subcommittee. I mean, I remember having this conversation and having it with Activitas specifically, with Eric, and maybe Jessica was on the phone too. It's the use.
Mm-hmm.
So part of the work that Eric, Shaw, and CPW were talking about is that there is much more maintenance on the pickleball tennis because it gets used much more. Therefore, post-tension concrete would be really important there. Whereas the basketball courts get used by 2 people, 3 people, 5 people. We don't have a lot of teams playing out there. Very little use. Less likely to need the post-tension concrete. Likely to have a longer lifespan with plain concrete. So that was part of that discussion. And then I think we looked at funding as well. The revolving fund does not have additional money for the post-tension concrete. But we moved this in subcommittee only. So you certainly have the right to decide here you want to do something different and do post-tension concrete on the basketball courts. We did not ask for post-tension concrete from the CPC because the subcommittee had moved post-tension concrete only on tennis pickleball courts because of the use of those courts and the maintenance that's required. So that was the why during the subcommittee. I can tell you that.
But we don't know. So the $1 million that we're gonna save, if we add post-tension concrete, it will be only for the tennis courts.
Correct.
That's true. We only did the
So
analysis.
we don't know how much money we would save if we do the same with the basketball courts. We don't have analysis.
We haven't, yes, but you can assume it would be proportionally something the
Right,
same.
something,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit less because it's less expensive, but
I assume that
700,
I
800.
assume that cost is based solely on the size, so you can just, figure out roughly how much it be said.
But this, if if it's the size, it should be like 50% increase on each of them. So there's something else that I took into account that is more expensive to do it on the tennis courts than the basketball courts. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm missing something, but anyway.
So if we don't do post tension on the basketball courts, what are we gonna do with the remaining funds? Because it's not enough to do another project. So it would just stay in the revolving fund until
I think, they were probably the next project on the list that we would spend it on, and you would weigh in on this. I think it would be the feasibility study we were looking
I
at
see.
for this campus here, which is probably
We said at least
$100,000.
Yeah,
I think $100,000. I don't know what that would end up being.
I think we originally put aside 100 for this and for Emerson at the time, so I think 200 to move it over. And then, yeah, that helps any operating losses that could occur.
So I think there's two things that we can do here, and that one of them I think is to move forward, sort of endorsing. We can put out a bid for, the adult cost of post tension concrete on both of them and see what we come back with, right? So that we know what that final number is going to be. We don't have to make that decision until we know what that actual final cost is going to be. I think there is an argument. One said that at sort of face value, why would you do one post tension concrete and not the other? If the argument makes sense to do one of them,
Yeah.
the same argument ought to apply to the other one, right?
And the second one is actually less expensive. It's like half price than the one we're doing. So
Yeah, but the question is, I don't know how you evaluate what the impact of relative use is on these things and how you would do that, but I'm kind of stalling for Lee to come back.
Yeah.
But my guess is that we ought to, if there's a contracting way to do that, when you go off an RFP, you want to ask both
Yeah.
post tension concrete, so you know what that number is. Yeah. Lee, we're talking about whether from a contracting perspective, it makes sense to at least go out and ask for as an adult, what post tension concrete would be on both the basketball courts and right up our, so we know what the final numbers are that we're talking about for those. Then we can look at what that comes back and decide, hey, you came down by 10%.
Oh, that's interesting. Sure, we could.
We could find it. We don't have to make that decision. We'll have to make the final expenditure decision until we know what the bid comes back at.
Very interesting. Sure, we could.
Does that make sense? I think
I
that
mean,
probably,
theoretically, you could go back to CPC next year and turn in another application for post tension concrete on the basketball courts. I mean, certainly, there's a lot of options you could do once you know how much it is.
yeah, I
So
don't
that's
think
a
we
good
want to
idea.
dig up Rhino Park twice.
No,
Mhm.
but I'm saying, I mean, there's a lot of things you could do, but certainly the project.
All right, so that sort of helps us figure out from that perspective. So it comes down now to the sort of the more program. Are we all in agreement that we should, our recommendation is that we should go out to a RFP with the adult for concrete on both of those, on both the courts, just so we
Yes,
know what we're talking about.
Can we get a vote to support the option?
Yeah, we'll come back.
You're looking,
Yeah,
you
we'll
are?
come back to
Okay.
it. So I wanted to understand the financial
Okay,
piece first.
gotcha.
Because that tells me that we can now afford to do these projects, whichever way we decide we want to actually do it, and we can give you a recommendation to move forward. So it comes down to the major question is, do we want to have a conversation about whether we think differently about which option than the subcommittee recommended? And are there questions the commission wants to raise or ask about that? Or do we want to go with the recommendation from the subcommittee for this option? Since I was on the subcommittee and voted one way, I think that's the right. I don't see any reason why we reconsider after all the work in the public comment that had been done. I don't know if there's if anybody has issues they want to raise about it. I think now is the time.
Is that open for us as well?
No,
I'm sorry, Mike, I know you probably have more comments you want to make, but I think this is our recommendation time at this point going forward. We didn't post that we'd be taking more public comment to look at this, but I think.
May I just make one comment, which is following up on what you said earlier, Phil, which is that if you go with option one, which does not include pickleball courts, it's the dedicated. So if option one does not include dedicated pickleball courts, I think the recreation committee will have great difficulty in getting fees from pickleball players when there are many dedicated pickleball courts elsewhere and within a reasonable journey of
Well, the decision's not based on whether we're gonna generate fees from pickleball players.
you mentioned it as a
I think that's pickleball lessons. I think you can offer lessons for people. You can do things like that. It's not a factor going into which option. I don't think whether we'd be able to generate fees from those users, because we're not really generating many now. I don't think that was.
that's because of the state of the courts.
Yeah.
I would just say, I was in support of this plan before, and now hearing that Emerson might be further delayed, I think it reinforces the need to have flexibility at ride out for both. So just underscores my interest in this plan.
Is everybody familiar with the other options, which include both tennis and pickleball?
Yes, we have had a lot of discussion. We discussed them at our last meeting. Everybody is familiar with them, and this is the opportunity if anybody on the commission wants to ask anything different. I get the sense from the commission that they want to move forward with the recommendation from the subcommittee.
Yes.
All right, do you have a motion to proceed with that recommendation? Second,
Second.
all those in favor? Aye. There was one additional question, and that was the issue of whether we take at the time of construction to do alternate conduits underneath for various future uses. That could be electrical, it could be water, it could be lots of different things. There's been some questions about whether it's, I think, very unfortunate that got in there without even just noticing that people talked about lighting. There's never been any intention from anybody on the subcommittee or on this commission to put lighting in on those courts. But it's sort of a wise investment in the future to put those conduits in case you want to do anything that requires electricity, water, any of those things around that whole facility. There were some comments that came in, people had said about, well, you can just do it around the edges and the trenches. So we went back and had some conversation about that with the town's public works and the tree wardens. And one of the issues can become, I'm not expertise in this, when you do that, if you put down that post-tension concrete, you've got to dig a distance away from that. There's a line of trees, particularly on the east side, that will be very much impacted if you try to do trenching later on and put in conduits after the fact, and the north side as well. That was a major concern to the folks in Public Works and at the tree commission. Happens to be the same guy, but he's wearing many hats. That line of trees could be damaged if you tried to do anything to that.
What? One of the comments that someone made last time was like, we don't know where the conduit should go because we don't know what we want to use them for. That was and I know nothing about this, but do we feel like we know which way they should go? Or
I think we are not the people who have expertise on that. It would be our friends at Public Works and or the consultants who would look at that.
Yeah.
Whatever we do, it's gonna come as an adult. We're not gonna make any decision on that going there, but I think it would behoove us to ask to actually understand a little bit more about what that plan would be. Because on the one hand, it makes sense. You don't want to tear up that concrete to put in conduits at a later stage.
Yeah.
100% that makes sense to me. On the flip side, if we don't have specific plans for it, what are you designing for? But I think there's a way that's an engineering question that could be answered for us. So I think we should what I would recommend we do is we go out for a bid, have it in there as an adult, and we continue to work with the Public Works folks to come up with what that plan actually looks like and the engineering principles are involved in doing that.
But I think there was that gentleman last meeting that has experience with that, and he said that first you don't know exactly what you're gonna need, And second, that it's easy to add it on later.
Well, that's, and one of the points is that was made, it's not easy to do it later because you put at risk all those trees. Right? That's why you do it when you're digging up. You don't want to do it around the perimeter later on and affect the landscaping that is around it too. So there's like, again, we are not the engineers that are going to answer that question. My gut is that we should defer to our colleagues in the Public Works Department who are dealing with this stuff every day on fields and facilities all over the place. Their current recommendation is that we should do this. It makes sense to do it. We should add to that comment. There is no recommendation, never has been any discussion or recommendation that we want to put lights in Rideout Park. That's a non-starter as far as I'm concerned. The issue is putting conduits in as an investment so that you can do water, you can do, there may be other uses in the future.
And is the recommendation to do it for both?
I think we should do it the same way. I think we should find out what those final prices are. And we should work with Public Works to better understand what the conduit would be. I don't know any more than anybody else.
Yeah.
I'm not an engineer that would look at it. So we need to move the project forward to get out and understand a few more
Needs
things.
to get out in February.
Otherwise we lose funding, we lose the opportunity to get this done. We need.
ARPA goes away, there's a lot.
We need to get this out to bid. We can have additional conversation if necessary with Public Works about what that is, but we should vote to at least go out to bid to understand what those prices are.
Sounds good.
Well, so we're talking that this.
So the recommendation you're looking for us, Lee, is sort of our blessing for you to go out. We're blessing you to go out to bid for option one with 2 adults of the alternate conduit for future uses and post-tension concrete on both the tennis pickleball courts and the basketball courts. So we get back and understand what that total project cost would be.
Yep.
What we think we have an estimate that was done back in October. It's now January and it'll be March before you get a bid back. So we'll see what that changes, and that in between now and that time, we can have additional conversations with Public Works about what that would
Absolutely, I'd
mean.
be happy to invite them in to the February agenda, for the February.
So we can learn a little bit
if you'd
more
like.
about that.
And have him join us so he can talk to you about his very strong opinion that should take place. So, yeah, so I'd be happy to do it. I might I'll reach out to you like what he's doing.
Yeah, I know. Yes, I think we need to learn a little bit more about
Did we
that.
get a vote? I'm sorry.
So no, that's just make sure that's the motion.
Good.
Motion to move forward on option one and add all the adults in.
And different.
And what?
And yeah, start asking.
And get further information about the conduit question. All those, sorry, motion,
I will.
second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Good, well, that's progress.
Yeah, we're gonna lose the opportunity to do it the right way, whatever we choose to do if we don't do it now.
Yeah.
Because the money goes away. All right, Lee, any other on our standing topics? Select Board Mary is not here with us today, I take it?
She did, online.
Yes. Hello, Mary.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, how you doing?
Okay, Mary.
Okay.
Look, if you have anything you want to share with us.
Okay, quick update on what the select board is doing. I think the select board right now is pretty much consumed with both what's happening at the MCI redevelopment. We're developing a master plan. We're also very busy with the land use working group trying to figure out what's the best use of some of the land that's becoming available within the town, including the Peabody School, and looking at possibly consolidating municipal services. I just want to point out that some of the conversations we're having about possibly consolidating, for example, the Ripley departments into a consolidated site. We are not looking at using the playing fields there and making those available for another site. So we're retaining all the analyses that we're doing, retain the playing fields at Ripley and retain the playing fields at the Peabody School. So I know those aren't under your jurisdiction, but they are part of the recreation assets for the town. The other thing that the select board's very involved with right now is obviously getting ready for town meeting. And as I just wanted to point out that the CPC article for the 497, the CPC approved that, but that still needs to be approved by town meeting. And things are still in flux as far as what the final CPC recommendation will be to the town and what the town will finally vote upon. So I just wanted to make that clarifying comment. Other than that, I've got one question from a colleague of mine on the select board that's asking to make sure that anything that happens with the pickleball courts at Rideout includes the cost of nets. Is that in the budget? I just want to go back to her with some clarification about that.
That will not be cost prohibitive. I mean, it's not part of the capital investment, but
Yeah, but
we'll have that-
okay.
we'll have that
It's a
from the
I think she sent an email to Lee, and I think she copied me on it, and I figured I'm here and I can ask the question on her behalf. So I can reassure her that there will still be nets available for pickleball players at Rideout. Is that true?
Yes,
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
So did I understand correctly that Peabody playing field is the one behind? Are we talking about the soccer field? Are they already, you're taking care of Concord Recreation or no? Oh, okay,
No.
not yet. Oh, God, no. I didn't understand correctly.
I don't think we have a finance committee liaison who was on the call with us. We had strategic plan initiatives, nothing new. This is taken up. This is our strategic initiative at the moment, is figuring out what our budget is to spend on these things and finding a wise way to spend it. So look at that. Community Preservation Committee, Matt is not here this evening. He would normally update us, but I don't think there's anything new since last week. As Mary said, that's another wild card. If for some reason town meeting decides not to approve that $400-something thousand,
I'll start over again.
then it's a different ballgame altogether. Matt is also in the land use working group, but the select board is doing an awful lot of work there. We've covered the Rideout Court project. Maisie O'Donnell, wasn't it on the town? Was it at the select board meeting on
I
Monday?
believe I have to, I'm going.
It
Monday.
is. It is. It's on our agenda for Monday night.
That's
I believe
next
I'm
Monday.
Going Monday.
It is. It is.
Do we know what specifically is on the agenda?
I don't know yet.
I believe it's the MOU. I'm not sure though. I'll defer.
Is
to
that
my-
where is that where we're at the state we're at now, is negotiating an MOU with, because they approved the nonprofit organization being able
The
to
LLC
do
did,
the
yep,
to do the construction
Yeah.
project.
and that was
Town.
finally approved by the state, and now it's the MOU,
So now it's
the memorandum of understanding.
Okay.
Between the town and the LLC.
and then that's great. The Giroux Recreation Area, Jess will give us an update, but she's not here. She's on vacation, so we'll allow her to. So that there's nothing new that I'm aware of. They're still negotiating over an opening day activities and festivities and that sort of thing, and that's outside of our bailiwick at the moment. And then our last standing option was community partner invitations, which we heard from Oars today, which was very helpful, really useful to hear what they're doing and very informative. Do we have anybody lined up? What's on our short list of people we were going to talk to next?
You know, we talked about inviting Julia back.
Natural resources.
I think maybe we should wait just a little tiny bit of time. I consider CPW our next community partner invitation for next
Great,
month.
come on in and let's talk about God.
They certainly are a huge community partner of ours.
It'll be a good conversation because this project, looking at Rideout, just it bubbles up to the surface. How much we do that depends on their expertise and their advice, and that it's not, we are not engineers and
You're not
construction.
alone.
Bid.
It feels nice to have this for, yeah.
Yeah, so that would be great. Let's talk to them about an agenda and how to have that conversation with them and see how we can do that in the next meeting. All right, was there any new business,
I have new business.
commissioners, or
Oh, sorry, I got all excited. I have a little bit of new business. I recalled, as I was preparing the annual town report that you all requested to see it. And so I sent it out as a draft, and I just wanted to know if you had time to look at it and if you had any feedback about certain categories or sections of our annual report. It is due fairly soon. I've actually made a lot of progress on it since I sent it to you. I think it was Wednesday. Wait, what day is it?
Sorry.
Oh, it was Tuesday. This is Tuesday.
Today was
So it's our basically our opportunity to showcase and give facts. It's a fact-based report on the department. And so I want to give credit to DJ actually, who did an extraordinary amount of work and did an exceptional job pulling a lot of data. I sent you all a draft. It was a rough draft that I sent you. I've made a lot of progress. Here's an update.
So,
This is, what's really interesting is page 4. I found.
so do you want us, I mean, we can't do it, but when do you need, we can, let's.
Oh, I need
go through
comments now. I'm sure to look at it, review it for suggestions before it's due, and it is the following. So it's soon. And if you don't have suggestions for me tonight, I was kind of kidding on me. I'll take suggestions up through the end of next week when it's due, but it's getting closer to its fall. And of course, there's one for BD2. I did send that out in an email. So feel free to look at that and offer suggestions. They do follow a template that the town gives us. But I certainly have flexibility within that. So, yeah. If you think there's something missing. That was my new business.
All right, any other new business? We have our next two meetings scheduled for the second Thursday of February and March. We'll talk about, we'll have the February one. I won't be able to be here in March, so you may need to reschedule that, and I apologize everybody in advance for that, but we'll talk about that in February. February still work for you, Pete? You won't be here, maybe Matt won't. Okay, last item on our agenda, we'll start with February.
Yeah.
Quick. Second Thursday. Second, February 12th for both. Same that time, same location. All right, the last item on our agenda was if there were any additional public comments from any of our guests who sat through a long meeting, and I appreciate the fact that you sat through a long meeting. There's a lot of things we need to talk about. The question is whether anybody has any additional comments.
Jean Easterday from the Evening Street. Does this group, are you guys the keepers or the overseers of Jerome Park, or is that the NRC? Or is it somebody else?
It's somebody else. At this point, it's unknown, to be honest with you. There's a lot of
areas.
there's a lot of conversation about whether that should be something that comes under the sort of oversight of this organization. There's questions about, does that mean daily management? Does that mean programming? Does that mean stewardship? There's lots of those things that you got to think about. And it's all under discussion.
Where does it sit at the moment?
It sits with the select board, and if anyone wants to use Giroux Park, and it's currently, meaning, you know, this weekend or something, and needs a permit to host a party or whatnot, that would be
Megan.
what is Megan's email?
Enzamuto.
So it's MZAMMUTO, Megan Zamuto at concordma.gov. She would be the one to take the request to use the park in today. And like Phil said, it may change in the future, but right now it sits with, it's being managed by the town manager's office.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's an open question.
Yeah.
It's an open question. I mean, yeah, it has, and as you know, one would say, if we had responsibility for it, that means we might do some programming. There might be some question about overall stewardship, but operations and maintenance, it's mostly DPW, and we don't actually have a team of people that plow snow and open bathrooms and install things and do that stuff. We can do we can install tennis nets, but we can't fix tennis courts, right?
Right.
So it's all done in partnership.
Yeah,
And the town is trying to figure out where the responsibility for Giroux should land.
yeah, because it's called a recreation area and oars was in here, so I was thinking about the kayaks. It's like-
So we actually put in a request to the CPC, which was funded. We have some funding that we're just waiting to figure out how we're gonna do it, to actually put in a kayak and canoe access facility at Giroux. That's what we would like to do. We're sort of waiting to figure out how what organizational structure that's gonna fit into. But we have some funding from CPC to do the initial studies and design for it. Anyone else?
Something that came up, just, with the person on Zoom. She asked if there were still going to be nets at Rideout, and you answered yes. I'm curious,
Yeah.
right now we have nets that are provided, put up and taken down by. What nets are you? Thinking?
I don't know anything about what types of pickleball, but I think it's incumbent upon us to figure out how to make sure there are nets available if we're gonna have pickleball courts there. So we'll figure that out.
As opposed to the portable nets that players set up, take down themselves,
Maybe.
which we own players, it's not town.
Yeah.
Well, it would be nice if there were rollaway nets, if there's the amount of time you spend setting up.
Yeah.
Excuse me, so the nets that are used today are provided by the users?
Bought, paid for, put up and.
I didn't
taken down.
realize that. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. And where do you store them now?
There's a lockbox, about 5 years ago, when the town first became an active supporter of pickleball. The town bought nets and a lockbox, and we've repaired and maintained the lockbox over the years. Replaced the lock, bought new nets as needed. As you know, organized using publicly available software.
I can add a little bit of information too, if you want to give me a break.
Yeah, just pickleball nets, the tennis nets.
Yeah, I understand.
The pickleball nets are provided by the players and are funded by an annual sort of donation.
Yeah, okay, well, that's something we have to look into, and we will.
Seems like a not unreasonable request. If we provide tennis nets, we ought to
That's right.
provide
Yeah,
tennis nets.
exactly.
Doesn't seem like an unreasonable request.
I was just simply gonna add that, that Jessica Porter is kind of sharing the thought process and conversation. I really just need to meet with the boss
Yeah.
to determine next steps for that.
Yeah.
It's not something that I'm completely versed on, but there does. And it's just not me who's gonna.
You know, it's
It's gonna
certainly
be
a solvable problem, we can
Sure.
take care of it.
May I just say that I respect the process that the Recreation Commission has come up with to, determine your recommendation to the town. I'm disappointed with the decision, but I do respect the process that you guys put in place.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
There were, I'm aware of at least a few emails that were sent in between the last meeting and now. Did those get shared with you folks?
They've all gone around, so we had another second sort of package of materials to look at. So, and I would like to thank the committee and their staff, Lee, and team put a lot of time into the work you do.
Thank you, pleasure.
All right, is that it?
Move we adjourn.
Second. All in favor? Thank you.